All right, so for those who does not know, I have wanting to open a food business with some other people. And when I was in a relationship with my partner, um, it's always in my mind to have a business. And I guess many people out there, if they think about business, they always think about food because everyone loves to eat, everyone's gonna eat. Everyone talks about, oh, you know what, I should open a coffee cafe business. One coffee, well, it only costs 50 cents to make a cup, and everything like that. But they don't understand the fact that, whether they sell it for 3.50 or $4, whatever the price it is, it adds up, like 30% taxed, 10% GST, and then what else you have? You have like, FPOS fees as well, your worker, labor, storage, what else other, the storage of the milk as well, refrigerator, bills, rent, you know, it's just super and, it just keep adding so much. And by the time you sell it, how much does the real owner actually makes towards the end? Industry award rate, it just when you think about it, it's crazy. And I believe I watched this particular Netflix today. I don't watch Netflix because I don't have Netflix, but my mate just showed me about Netflix, right? The shopping conspiracy or whatever, the buy now Netflix cast or whatever the show is, you guys can buy now. I remember buy now, and it makes us realize how many stuff we buy or anything. But one of the area that really captured me is Jeff Bezos. He hires people that's smarter than him, and if you're not smarter than him, right, as a team or work at work or anything, then you should not allow to talk, right, or contribute or whatever. And when I think about that, I think about immediately in Australia or Western world is that a worker has so much rights, and even if you're higher, you be selective, you do whatever, right? But you can't get rid of the worker. There's worker rights and lots of law against you behind, all right? And it's sad, it's a employer who has the right to run the business you know, efficiently and as well strongly, making as much profit and whatsoever, right? And you're not allowed to do that because you can't just sack them. You need to give them warnings, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And before probation, you can get rid of the person, right? But after probation and after you have to sign the contract, you can't do that. And basically, what I'm trying to say here is that employer has no rights, right? They have to give all this stuff, like what I just mentioned about coffee. I haven't even included work cover. I haven't even included EPA or EAP, right? Employment Assistance Program. It's just so much to go through before you start a business, so you don't get screwed over or insurance, and there's so much the hurdles to go through. And today, when I finally convinced a mate to go look at this particular shop, I had a different vision, and the vision was to have a residential. It has 4 bedroom above the shop, and I told him, the shop he doesn't really have to open. You can open as catering or online, Facebook Marketplace, sell food, whatever. And you don't really have to open. We can live up there, and then you could do whatever the business at the back or whatever, right? And I'm just there, have that vision, and as worst comes worst scenario. But my mate just tell me X, Y, and Z. This is not profitable. We're gonna lose money. This and that. Before you start into business, really lose money. Look, we've been talking to the owner for that long. How many customers you see? You see none. Hey, do you see any chips or dim sims or potato cakes or whatever that's been defrosted or in the winter? None of them. So this shop is a dead shop. Why are we going to spend $80,000 to get a lease transfer under our name, where it's a dead shop? And for me, I looked at it very differently. All right, so you want to use it as a residential. William, do you have capital to pay? And I said, look, I told Desi there's no point to talk about it. Nobody's going to put capital. So no $80,000. So there's nothing much I could say here. So you had this conversation, and I started to realize the third person who's supposed to be the business partner lied to us that she'll be rocking up to that business. And not only just that, I gave her a reality check the other day. I'm like, when you have that business, you got to write your assets as well. Because worst comes worst, if let's just say we sign 2x2 or 3x3 or 4x4, and we want to get out of the contract or whatever, and we have remaining X amount of years, and we don't have that upfront, rental yearly, or no matter how many years money, then they'll seize assets, right? And I told her that, and I think that kind of changed her mind. And today I started to relieve and say, look, you know what, this whole business thing, if I look at it as a residential and you can open it at times to time, that would be great. But I'm just looking at it, and I didn't see that, when you open a business, there's just so much hurdles to go through. And you wonder how these business owners can afford in general. And I did make a video about, the other day. But I haven't even included Uber Eats. Uber Eats asks 30%. So, a normal restaurant, you have takeaways, you have dining, and Uber Eats. Those are the three things that most businesses will have in today's world. And I started to calculate, right? That particular food, which is cost $33 on Uber Eats. And if we break it down, $33, how it goes, there's really not much to make. If you look at 30% Uber Eats, another 30% is going to go to, 33% goes to tax man every quarterly. That's 63%. Then you got GST, 73%. Then you got FPOS, right? Surcharge fee, right? What else? You got workers, insurance, rent, bills, work cover. By the time you add up all of them, and industry awards, super and everything, it's finished. If you think about it, there's no money left for owner to make. Employees get their cut, everyone's getting a cut, the government's getting the cut, you got food permit as well, food license. And it's not cheap. And the more I think about it, really, you can't make money. Alright, even if I cut out Uber Eats, right? You cut out Uber Eats, right? Like, what do? You cut out Uber Eats, 33% GST, alright. Then you're left over around 57% with all the bills, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you're left with 20 or 30% of, 30% or 35% profit margin. And you did it by containers, cutleries, and everything. Where, if you think about the days that we don't have FPOS, that's strong, cash in hand, it doesn't work that way. The cash in hand is 100% yours. Or you could give the wages, the bills, the rent, stock. What is it? Stock. What else? Why am I missing stock and what else? Got stock, containers, storage. You have a higher profit margin, right? Even though you don't pay tax. So essentially, it can be 70% profit margin, right? Or maybe a little bit less, but it's still marginable. And I remember when I was studying my social work degree, the educator would say, do you know in a shopping center, who's the most profitable industry out of the entire shopping center? And they kept saying the food court, those who runs the food business. And yes and no, if you just buy the ingredients and make the ingredients the way it is, of course it's profitable. But the moment you add all the government regulations, tax and vultures and leeching left, right and center, then you start to question yourself, no, it's actually not much money to be made. And one thing about food business is that you can work your main job, whatever, and the only thing you think about, opening another business, a side hustle or whatever, is food, right? You can't think of anything else. Because food, you don't really need a degree, right? You can have like food handling license and permits and this training, that training. It can be done in a week, right? Worst comes to worst. But just to understand the whole thing, the amount of money that you put in, it's just enormous to look at it. And yeah, that's what I said in the video. It's just so much to go through. And yet, it is very important to understand the whole thing. So yeah, that's the video that I wanted to close this chapter of food. To ever think about food is the fact that there's no money to be made, unfortunately. And it sucks, Everyone's getting the pie out of it. Too many vultures.